Does roasting inhibit the flavors of coffee? You've probably heard it before. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's quite noisy outside. There's a truck passing by. But anyway, have you ever, if you've been in coffee for a while, you've probably heard, my goodness, what is going on? Okay, so if you've been in coffee for a while or into coffee, you've probably heard someone tell you that, hey, don't use too fresh coffee. Why don't we want to have coffee that is 5 to 7 days after it has been roasted, and that gives you the best flavor. What is happening here is that a byproduct of coffee roasting is that the beans will emanate CO2 gases, and the theory is that those gases occlude your ability to taste the coffee or inhibit the flavoring of the coffee so that you don't get full expression for several days after. Now, this week on the Coffee Q&A podcast, we've been doing a test just to see exactly how it affects the coffee. So we've got this coffee here. It's a Nicaraguan coffee from Jinotega, washed, processed, nice, clean. We roasted it on Monday morning. And immediately after roasting, we took it, ground it, cupped it, and brewed it so we could get a representation of what the coffee is like. And then this week, we're going to be tasting it every day to see just what kind of effect the degassing of the coffee has on it. Now, yesterday, if you notice, I did note that I had the lid on this container, and I topped the lid. We're going to see if that's still happening. Actually, I didn't. I forgot to lock it last night, so I don't know if it would have pushed it off or not. But the CO2 gases, the CO2 does degas, and it does degasses. And so you've got to, this is why bags will inflate and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to do some tasting today. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments. Love to hear from you. And, let me know what you think. What's your experience with roasted coffee? Do you have any troubles with the degassing? All right, so this is our coffee. The Nicaraguan coffee looks real nice. I mean, it's nicely roasted, evenly roasted to a nice medium. This particular coffee was roasted to 206 degrees Celsius. We are Celsius-based roaster here. We start at 215 degrees Celsius, about 420, and we stop right around 405, I believe that would be the equivalent of it. And we're going to take some samples of this. I'm just going to maybe pour it out into a little container to work with. This way you get the chance to see it. I like to put coffee in trays. These are our sample trays, just because it gives us a more of a neutral background. That blue does help to see the coloration better. White, the idea is always to put on white, but white doesn't always give us the right representation, because there's going to be a lot of reflection right in the off of the white surface. So by using this blue surface, or maybe a darker surface like black, for example, we get a little bit better color representation. There's actually a psychology study that says that if you're drinking coffee from a blue mug, it actually enhances the experience for the taste, which is cool. I don't really like blue mugs, so I like the look of the white mug, so we've always served the coffee in white ceramic. That's more of a stylistic choice, Hopefully the coffee was good enough that that was overcome, but who knows? So today we're going to brew this coffee in the V60. We're going to do the V60 all week, and in basically the same manner, 2 grams for every finished ounce, which means we're going to be doing 24 grams to make a 12-ounce cup. We're going to be brewing it the same way every day, because we want to have that baseline. We want to have some level of consistency for us to determine what we like about it. Now, remember, the first day we did this coffee on Monday, right after roasting, we got some really pretty notes of, let me just set this all up here. We got some really, oh no, I need to do this. Okay, I need to weigh the coffee. We got some really pretty notes of a little bit of cinnamon, some leather, tobacco, cacao, really clean, medium-bodied, really pretty coffee overall. What if I pull this way? I pull this way and put this down lower. Is that a better? Oh, yeah, that's better. We'll do that. All right, so So a really pretty cup. Now, yesterday's coffee, I think I said that it was kind of mangled and grotesque. Like we didn't get the clarity of the flavors that we did the very first morning. Now, here's the interesting conundrum is that most of us roasters, including myself, our practice is to roast the coffee, let's say like Monday morning, and then we won't do our quality control tasting until the next day. So if we're having some flavor occlusion within 24 hours, by 24 hours, then it does make me wonder, like how accurate is our QC cuppings? That is something I've been pondering for the last 24 hours. All right, so now we're going to brew the coffee. We're going to put it in our trusty compact R80. And I know I mentioned this a lot. We're same grind settings yesterday. I know I mentioned this a lot because the R80 is a great flat for 80 millimeter disc grinder that has just been a workhorse for us. Spanish made by the Compact Corporation, really a nice grinder. There are some design flaws that I think would be better addressed with some redesign, but for the most part, it's been very good performer for well over 10 years now. What was I saying? So we are using the same particulate grind size, grind setting. I didn't change the grind setting because you know what? I don't really find that coffee fluctuates as great as a lot of baristas want to make it seem like. I've always found these baristas, they come into work and they're like, you see them, they talk about it with pride and then all this stuff. They're like, I sat there for 15 minutes adjusting the grind. It's like, oh my gosh, man, really? 15 minutes? It took you 15 minutes to adjust the grind? Why? Like, is your environment such in a state of flux? Your temperature, humidity, atmospheric pressure, is that in such a state of flux that you always have to adjust? I mean, yes, there will be times when, depending on your environment, where you may need to adjust throughout the day slightly, but I've never really found it in 20 plus years of doing this that I really needed to have that much adjustment or that great of variability from day to day. Like typically when I would open Spro, I'd walk in and pull a shot, maybe make a slight adjustment, done. Like not even 5 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes. It took longer for me to turn on the machine and heat it up than it did to actually adjust the grind from the day before. But I don't know, that's maybe we just have everything timed in. I'm not sure, but I don't understand baristas that have to do that. It's very strange to me. Another thing that I also want to encourage you, especially for the espresso guys, we always debated about this. Like for years, we kept the machines running. Years and years and years and years and years. Maybe a decade or more, we left the machines running. And, the machines we're using, which were La Marzocco Lineas, they can take it. I mean, they're workhorses. And the theory was always that, okay, we're leaving it running because it takes longer. I mean, it costs more to heat them than to keep them running, right? Like that spike in heating will cause a spike in electricity that'll cost you more in the long run. And then I was, attended this power seminar. The things you get into when you're really into something. Like I went to a lecture about power and electricity and the consumption of espresso machine power in daily use. And they were saying that, now I forgot the exact details because it's been a number of years, but basically it was saying that if you were shut down for X amount of hours, there's no advantage for you to leave the machine on. Turn the machine off. You'll actually use less electricity. It'll cost you less to shut the machine down and start it up every day. And, we did that, and I decided, let's do that. So we did it. Definitely saw a cost savings in the electrical use. And then, and it takes 15 minutes. So if you're late to work, yeah, you're kind of in trouble. But if you're not, so for those of you who are making espresso at home, yeah, you could turn your machine off. I don't know if your practices are to leave the machine running or not, but if you are, you can turn them off. Mom, what's going on, man? How are you? Good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And okay, so let's get to our brewing. I'm babbling away too much. We've got our coffee ground here, right? Good. Medium grind. We're going to use paper filters, the typical Melita number 4. You know, I know you might be wondering, why are you still using these Melita number 4s when you got a whole stacks of them in the back of proper Hardy OV60 filters? Because those will run out, and then I just have these, and I want to use these first. That's really it. I don't really find much practical difference between the filters. All right, there's our filter. Like you saw, I folded it up again. It makes an oblong cone. All right, the cone is oblong. Put that in. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put all this here. I'm going to add the coffee. I'm going to shake it out. Reset the scale. I'm going to double check the heat. We've got our pouring kettle. I really like these pouring kettles. These are Kalita pouring kettles with the pelican beak here. This is actually designed by Ichiro Sekiguchi of Cafe del Hombre. Like, they actually use ones that are bigger than this, but the spout is of his design. Like, Master Sekiguchi was a little bit of a crazy person, which I tend to gravitate towards crazy people in different pursuits. But his was such that he wanted to do something, or he had an idea about coffee, whether it was a cup, whether it was a spout, whether it was a grinder, or the way that the filter was made for the nail drip. He would go out and make it or have it manufactured or something like that. And so, you know, fanatical people are really kind of interesting and fun. So let's pour some coffee in here, some water. The only thing about this particular kettle, it's an enameled kettle, enameled steel. It's really great, but the problem is it's all enameled steel. So after a while of usage, that heat will transfer from the main part of the vessel to the handle. So after a while, I have to start using a towel. All right, so we're going to put this timer there. You see that? Hopefully you can see that. We're going to start our timer. And we're just going to go. I know yesterday I did some pulsing. Today I'm just going to go slow. Like, what I'm trying to do is we're going to go for the first, like, 25 grams and wet coffee. We're going to see how the bloom performs. Usually about 25 grams, it starts to flow out. There we go. 22, 23. We're getting flow coming out of the bottom. And we'll do some pulsing just to make sure we get the total cap of the coffee completely wet. There we are. Good, good. So we're now 45 seconds into it. It's interesting. Sometimes I'll do it a little bit differently. Like when I'm using the immersion brewers, something like a Clever or a Bonavita, I will actually add 85 grams in the first pour. But this pour over, I kind of like to go slow and really just keep it saturated. This time I'm not really giving an opportunity to bloom as much. Like we did yesterday, had a little bit more of a blooming. This I'm just trying to keep I'm always pouring the water on the top grounds to keep it fully saturated and always extracting. And that's the key, right? Why do we have the bloom is something that happens because there is CO2 production, right? And so that CO2 keeps the cap floating, which means that some of the coffee is not exposed to the water. What I'm doing is just constantly keeping the cap as wet as I can. And I'm relatively adding the water in consistent, stable additions. And now I'm just pulsing it. There's no real reason for that. I just want to make sure that I keep the water level roughly the same throughout the brew. And I also want to keep all of the ground saturated. We're at 182 grams and just over 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Now that a lot of that CO2 has been dissipated, we're not seeing the float happening as much, right? So, and Baldhead Racing says, ugh, lots of dropouts, but I think that's my end. Good morning. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hopefully it's not on my end. My apologies if it is. But good morning and welcome to the show. Glad to have you. If you're having dropouts, hopefully if you get the chance to watch the replay, it'll be smoother for you. But right now it looks like I'm showing good signal strength from our position as far as the upload speed. So 227, we're 3 minutes, so we need to go a little bit faster. We need to get to 350. So I'm going to go a little bit faster, a little bit heavier on the pour. I'm going to raise the water level just slightly. 262. I'm going to add a little bit more water to our kettle. I am working on finding a better solution for this overhead camera so that eventually we will have much better angles. I was actually at the photo store yesterday looking for solutions. I think I found the one for this setup. I just need to go back and buy it. All right, 3 minutes 46. Oh, we are running behind. We are running 349. I've been babbling too much. Let me get to 350. We're going to just punch it out a little bit. Come on, 350, baby. 350. There we go. 350. 351. I'm always getting 351. 4 minutes, 9 seconds now. So we're going to be a little bit over time. Sometimes, it happens. But hopefully it'll give us, relatively close results to what we had yesterday, or at least for the brewing cycle. All right, we are at 4:30. Oh, a little bit long. Let's get that off of there. So the nice thing about these, you can just take the filter out, right, for cleaning. I just take this, and I keep behind the bar here, I keep a little trash can just outside of camera view. Just falls in there. And then I'm going to give this a quick rinse, just to get any residual coffee out of it. All right, let's have a look. So we got a 4 minute, 30-second brew. There it is. All right, let's see what it looks like here under camera. And Bulkhead says, definitely me. You're all fuzzy at 240. Oh, gosh. I'm fuzzy. I know what that's like. My home computer, man, it is like, everybody's on the internet, so it's like I get terrible download speeds at home. I actually, to the point where I don't even watch the internet. I almost never use the internet when I'm at home, because I'm like, oh, there's just too many people on the router, and it's just killing the bandwidth. And I can't, if I want to watch something, it's pretty much like you're watching me right now at 240p, very fuzzy. But at least YouTube's really good at trying to keep the audio as best quality as it can. So sometimes it's not so bad. All right, so let's have a smell. Oh, again, just like the last couple of days, still a lot of that earthiness, warm tones, a little bit of diatomaceous earth. That actually smells a little bit more pleasant than what I recall from yesterday. Let's pour a little bit into the glass here. Okay. Looks relatively clear. Right? Look at that. Looks pretty good. Okay, I can taste that. Those extra 30 seconds of brew time, I can taste that now. That's coming across as a bit bitter, like that over-extracted kind of bitterness. Too much babbling. But let's go beyond that. Yesterday, I found it to be quite muddled, grotesque. What's the other word I used? I can't remember the other word that I used. There was another word that I used that was like, I've never really used it in describing coffee before, but grotesque was one of them. Pungent. There's a little bit of pungency still left. But it doesn't. Mangled was the word I used to describe the flavors. Like when we first roasted the coffee and the coffee was fresh out of the roaster, I had notes of light cinnamon, maybe a little bit of nutmeg, some tobacco, some leather, cacao. Those are pretty clear, pretty clean flavors. Yesterday, mangled was the word. Mangled, grotesque. Those flavors, I don't even know if they were there, but there was definitely this pungency that was kind of strange. There's a little bit of pungency. There's a little bit of bitterness. The bitterness, though, I'm going to have to chalk up to poor brewing technique and too much talking. But that mangled flavor is really kind of gone. It's still a little bit pungent, still the bitterness. It feels and tastes brighter. It's clean, medium bodied, like a nice finish. Well, it's a little bit tannic in the finish. An improvement from yesterday's mangled flavor. Not quite as pretty as it was on right after the roast. But I guess if we're talking about the occlusion of coffee due to CO2 production, I mean we would have to say that this is probably what we would expect, right? Maybe we'll do after this. We'll continue all week long with the tasting here, and I'll keep this batch separate. I won't sell it. Sometimes, if coffee's lying around, we're selling it. Somebody walks in, hey, I want to buy some coffee. No problem. Come on, buy it. So we have available. But, and maybe what we'll do is we will take this for a longer term. So we'll do it all week. And then after the weekend, maybe we'll do Monday a tasting. That'll give us 7 days to see how it changes. And then maybe we'll go back to it again on Friday. And then after that, once a week, for maybe however long we can with this batch, and see how does the coffee change? How does it improve? And we won't do any kind of special treatment to it. I'm going to keep it in this container, just kind of lid closed and sitting out. I mean, it's good. It's all right. It's all right to drink. Like yesterday, I did drink it, but if I was going to serve it to guests, I'd be concerned because it's like it had that mangled flavor. I probably wouldn't have served it. But then today, this is better, but not how the first tasting promised. I guess that's the best way to put it. So malt has actually some astringency. Yes, there's definitely some astringency in that brightness and acidity, and there's also a little bit of that tannicness that's coming. And then, of course, we can't dismiss the bitterness because of my personal errors. But interesting. I have a weird tingling on my teeth, like my incisors, my upper incisors. Like there's a tingling here. I don't know why that is. It's very strange. It could be the CO2 gases attacking the base, my tooth roots and driving them out. And I have to go to the dentist. All right, I don't really know what else to tell you. It is bright. It is just a little bit astringent. It's got a little bit of bitterness, a light tannicness on the finish. The flavors that we tasted early on, that cinnamon, tobacco, leather, cacao, they're not very pronounced at all. Really, I'm getting a lot more just kind of like the tannic, the brightness. I guess you could say some of it is leathery, for lack of anything else to say about it. But it's not pronounced, and it's not necessarily pretty either. All right, I guess that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. And, back again tomorrow with a tasting of 72-hour coffee. We'll see how it's performing and if it changes, what it does or something like that. And, if you got any questions, of course. Oh, did I get it? Oh, George, what's up, man? Did you get a haircut? I did. I went to the haircut yesterday. Actually, I went to a different. I went to a barber that I've been to before. Not my usual barber, but I went to the same barber shop that I went to for my last haircut. And like different barber cut my hair, not the woman that was there. She was sick. And so the last time I was there, I told her, hey, just trim up the sides. Don't go too tight. And he said, what do you want? I said, just trim it up, make it nice. And he said, what is that? What do you mean by that? And I said, well, like a number 2 or number 1. I was like, no, no, no. Give me a number 4 on the sides. Because one of the problems that I have, this is actually something my mom was pointing out to me. Moms are very nice. They watch your videos, right? So my mom watches my videos. She's trying to help me get with better monetization, right? So she's like, I watch your videos, or I have them playing so that hopefully you'll get more monetization money. And I was like, thanks, Mom. I don't know if your 1 view is going to help, but I really appreciate you doing that. But she's like, when you turn your side and you have your hair this short, you can see your scalp. And I'm like, oh. I was looking, and I was watching some of the videos. I was like, yeah, that doesn't look as nice. So I've been growing it out to make it like, more sexy, right? And so the guy just wiped away my sexiness yesterday. So I'm like, oh gosh. But so we're gonna grow it back out and then go back to the other barber. But I was like, oh, anyway. But yeah, plus I'm also going to a concert. Gonna go see Duran Duran tonight in Washington D.C. My cousin got me tickets, and he's like, hey man, you're gonna come? I was like, sure. How much are the tickets? Oh, maybe I should have said no to that. That was a mistake. But I like Duran Duran, so it'll be kind of fun. 72 hours, yeah, 72 hours. Oh, you like the look. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But the scalpiness is kind of strange. Take a picture and show them. I always do take pictures. I should just, and that's a lot of times I'll post them to the Instagram, which is onocoffee 4, number 4, onocoffee, if you're interested. And I'll have to bring it to them. But usually I can just tell them, just trim it up a little bit, leave it long. I like to part it this way. Yeah, she likes it. Yeah, Duran Duran should be kind of I've been dreading it for the last month. Ever since I said yes, I was like, oh, why did I do that? Like I really don't want to go. I don't want to go. But now that now it's the day of, or like yesterday, I was like, ooh, kind of excited. I was looking at the set list that they publish on those set list websites, and it's not as good a set list. Like it's great. It's a great set list because like they got a lot of like the old school stuff, right? Not too much of the new school. But I do like a lot of the new stuff, so it's not too big of a deal. But like mostly old stuff like Night Boat and like I was like, ooh, Standing on the Edge of the Key. I can't wait for that. And so, but the two, they said that there's 2 numbers that they do at the encore, so it's 2 songs after the encore. So that's a little bit disappointing, especially after I was looking at the Cure, Robert Smith's bands, their set list. Like they do this whole like concert. And then there's the encore, and it's like another 9 songs. You're like, whoa, their encore is like a full another concert. So it's like, you kind of would like to have that. It's not like Duran Duran doesn't have a big enough catalog, right? Using Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine. I know, totally. Yeah, and Baldhead saying that interesting that right out of the cooling tray was the best so far. Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. Like a lot of times when we're at Origin, and like for example, when we go to the Mirish place, they're Beneficio Esteban in just outside of Matagalpa. We'll go there and we'll do cupping, and Elian will always have the stuff. And typically, we'll roast the green samples that morning, and then after they get roasted, we cup them right away. And it's like, and there was actually a part of me before that was kind of like, is that really a good practice? Shouldn't we wait like a day? But I'm really like these last 2 days have really kind of, made some questions for me to wonder about. Like, you're right, Baldhead. Like it's the coffee was best so far straight out of the roaster. Like I said, makes me wonder about our QC practices. Maybe we're missing out or not getting quite enough done. Baldhead says, I chew beans out of the cooling tray. I like that. Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't like that. I don't like chewing beans. Like, there's something about the texture of the coffee bean that just makes me like, I just get all like, ah. Like, I know people love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disparaging anyone that does it. I know it's very widely practiced, but like for me, there's something about the texture that when I'm crunching through it, like I just don't like that pebbliness in my mouth. And like, it takes me a while to wash through it. I don't know. I don't know. I've always been weird like that. Like, I don't mind, and the weird thing is that I don't mind chewing on cacao. Like cacao nibs, I'll chew through those all day long. No big deal. But like coffee beans, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you know that mouthfeel. Excellent. Excellent. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. But back again tomorrow morning with a 72-hour tasting. And yeah, so come join me or watch on the replay whenever you have the time. I hope I'll be feeling all right, depending what time we get back from Duran Duran. But all right, until next time, thank you very much, and see you then.